Daniel Sports Central, we go over a college football game preview and prediction on the Week 2 matchup between the Nebraska Cornhuskers and the Colorado Buffaloes. Two teams that came away from Week 1 feeling totally different ways. Nebraska played Minnesota on Thursday night, and they had the game all the way until the end. But Minnesota stole it from them in the end. Another disappointing loss for Nebraska, and this is a huge game for them to bounce back and get redemption. And this is suddenly a game that's on a very big stage. Colorado's a team that just took care of TCU on the road. TCU was in the national championship last season. Colorado was 1-11 last season. It's pretty incredible what the Buffaloes did, and Coach Prime, this is a team that is suddenly looking like a true dark horse. So two very different storylines for both teams heading into Week 2. Massive matchup. We'll go over a full game preview and prediction on this matchup here today. Let's get started with your team trends. Nebraska 0-1 to start the season, losing to Minnesota. That was a low-scoring, just ugly defensive matchup. We saw Nebraska kind of control it there in the second half. Looked like they're going to win the game, but another close loss for Nebraska. This is a team that's really gone through it with those close losses in recent time, and they need a big opportunity like this is. Colorado's probably going to be ranked in the top 25, I would imagine, for this game. Going on the road to Boulder, taking on a Colorado team that has seemingly got all the hype in the world right now after a stunning win against TCU. It seems like most Colorado fans saw it coming, but the rest of the college football world definitely did not. So it's pretty incredible what the Buffs did, and this team beating TCU 45-42. That's probably going to end up being one of the games of the season, honestly, the way that game went back and forth. And Coach Prime apparently has got to go in Boulder right now. So this is obviously an old rivalry as well. Lots on the line here in this matchup, and it's definitely on a big stage as we look forward to Week 2. Games will be on Saturday, September 9th in Boulder. Kickoff is 10 a.m. Mountain Time. So this is a pretty early kickoff coming up here for Colorado, especially. Spread's going with Colorado by 2.5. I believe before last weekend, the spread was actually at Nebraska. It was favoring Nebraska by like 8.5 points. So that has flipped a whole 10 points since Saturday. So the Buffaloes are now favored. Over-unders 59. FPI is still going with Nebraska, 59%. Wouldn't be surprised if that is maybe adjusted a bit, considering the way Colorado played in Week 1. Series history, Nebraska leads at 49-20. We actually saw a home-and-home between these two teams between 2018 and 2019. Colorado won both games. The last game was in Boulder, where the Buffs won at 34-31. Stat comparison for this one, Nebraska last week offensively, they struggled. Jeff Sims, 11 for 19, 114 yards, 1 touchdown, 3 picks. And those 3 picks were killer for Nebraska. All 3 of them really impacted this team in very negative ways. There are some turnovers where maybe it's in midfield or in a position where maybe doesn't have a very significant impact, but a couple of those interceptions for Jeff Sims, one of them in the end zone, another one was in a really crucial situation. So it's, and those turnovers in general, there was also a fumble by Anthony Grant. You just can't have that if you're wanting to win those close games. So Jeff Sims definitely got to be better in Week 2 and throughout the season as well if Nebraska wants to even get to a bowl game this season. Gabe Ervin was the lead rusher, 55 yards. Alex Bullock was the top receiver, 3 receptions, 56 yards, and a touchdown. Pass defense was allowed 196 yards. Rush defense, not too bad for Nebraska. And obviously going up against Colorado, a team that was very heavy in receiving and passing last week against TCU. Shedeur Sanders, 38 for 47. 510 yards. He threw for 510 yards in his first game with Colorado. 4 touchdowns, no picks. Simply incredible what we saw out of Colorado last week. Offensively, this team looked incredible. It looked like this was a team that has played with each other for years. And it's totally the opposite of that. That's what's incredible about it. Sivion Wilkerson, 13 attempts, 45 yards and a touchdown. Dylan Edwards was the lead receiver. You heard his name a lot. 135 yards and then 3 touchdowns last week. Defensively, though, this team allowed a lot of rush yards, 262 yards allowed of rushing last week. So going up against Nebraska, a team that definitely relies and will be relying on the run a lot in this matchup, I can imagine. Jeff Sims, after his 3 picks, he's a pretty strong rusher as well. That's the way Nebraska wins this game, is rushing the ball and having success with it and putting up enough points to win. And defensively, Nebraska is going to have to play a very strong game. Colorado's offense is night and day better than Minnesota, especially what we saw. I mean, Minnesota's offense was it was ugly in week 1 for sure. So, I mean, for Nebraska, defensively, got to have a really strong game here if they want any chance of knocking off the Buffs. I mean, especially if you look at Colorado, if they can play that same way in week 1, I mean, it was more than just TCU not looking very good. It was, I mean, Colorado looked sharp, and they were dominant offensively. I mean, for Nebraska defensively, this will be a strong team this season. On defense, it's just the offense. If they can put things together offensively, this could be a pretty good football team, but there's a lot of uncertainty right now, I think, for this team offensively. But Jeff Sims, a strong rusher, lacks in passing. That was kind of the same story at Georgia Tech as well, so we'll see if he can turn that storyline around. And I mean, what an opportunity for both teams, but Nebraska, I mean, a huge redemption chance. Nebraska is in a spot where, I mean, that loss against Minnesota, I can imagine, nothing short of brutal. And so to have an opportunity to go to Boulder in week 2, taking on Colorado, a team that just beat TCU and has got college football world on notice, I mean, that's, if you can take down Colorado in this matchup, that turns the entire script all the way around in a matter of a week. But for Colorado on the other side, this is a team that suddenly looks like a true dark horse. Pac-12 this season, though, is stacked. It's already stacked with 6 really good football teams at the top. I mean, you name them: Oregon, USC, Washington, UCLA should be up there, Oregon State, Utah. I mean, the Pac-12 is stacked. So for Colorado to fit in there, it's going to be really tough. But the way this team played in week 1, they can totally do it. So it's, I mean, this is an offense that is no joke. Shedeur Sanders, nothing short of outstanding in week 1. And this is a massive opportunity against an old rival for Colorado. They beat Nebraska twice a few years ago. So, I mean, this is a huge game for Colorado, a huge game for Nebraska for redemption. I mean, yeah, a lot of storylines heading into this one. And with that, let's get to the prediction here for Nebraska and Colorado coming up here in week 2. And it's quite insane how the storylines can flip in a matter of a week. And with that, I got to go Colorado in this one. 31-24 is my predicted final score. Honestly, heading into week 1, I was thinking about this matchup, looking forward to it, and I was thinking Nebraska could win this game by 2-3 touchdowns. But Colorado, the way this team played in week 1, I just have to go with the Buffs here. If they can play anything close to the way they played in week 1, this was a team that looked just really good. They were really sharp offensively. I don't think they score as much in this game as they did in week 1. I think Nebraska's defense is better than TCU's. But Nebraska's offense, I just don't know if they can keep up with Colorado's if they allow too many points. I think Nebraska finds a way against this Colorado defense. I think they score 24. But this is still a Nebraska offense that really struggled last week. I mean, so if they can put things together and put up a solid game, Nebraska can win it for sure. And I think this is a close game all the way till the very end. Who knows? Colorado could dominate Nebraska here, but I do think we see a close matchup here in the end, and Colorado wins it by a touchdown or so. I'm going to say 55% towards the Buffs. Over under 59. I'm taking the under and the Buffs to cover the spread in the end. I mean, it's honestly, I mean, Nebraska's a team that's talented enough to win this matchup, but the way Colorado played in week 1, I mean, this is a team in Colorado that could very much be for real this season. So with that, let me know your thoughts in the comments below on this matchup. I appreciate you guys all watching as always. Stay tuned for more from All Sports Central. Catch you on the next one.